Okay, Brianna, I see
Yep.
there's some questions in the Q&A thing and in the chat bar. Do you have any questions for us?
I sure do. I have a question from Katie. She actually has 3 questions. Katie wants to know, is there a standard square footage price adjustment in the state, or is that subjective to the appraiser and the area?
Absolutely not. Totally subjective. A lot of people like to call me and say, hey, what's the standard price of square footage? I've never in my 18, 19 years, never given that out. I don't do anything by price of square foot. Everything, as we talked at the very beginning, how something can go from $160,000 to $1 million in the same neighborhood. There's no point in giving you a price per square foot because they're completely different. So no, it is totally subjective. Yes.
Okay. She wants to know, what is considered basement square footage?
Great question. This comes up a lot, and I get a lot from realtors. And this might get long, so if I get long-winded, cut me off. On the appraisal side, basement square footage is anything that's not GLA. GLA on the appraiser side is gross living area. Gross living area is anything above grade. Some people think that's a gray area, and it can be. But to give you an example, the best example is bi-level homes. Sometimes you'll see a realtor list a property. It's a bi-level home, 700 up, 700 down, and that's the home where when you walk into the house, you have a choice right there inside the foyer to go down or up. And you can go upstairs to the upper level or down to the lower. And they'll list that property at 1,400 square foot with 0 basement. Is that right or wrong? That's not for me to say. What we try and do is what's common to the neighborhood. If a lot of people are listing their homes and they have no basements and they're listing as even a tri-level, you can have a tri-level that doesn't have a basement but is similar setup. If that's common to the area, we'll adjust our guidelines to abide by that. But if it's common in the area to not that, so the same scenario, bi-level home, somebody else might list it as 700 GLA with a 700 square foot basement. They do need to do their research and see, because yes, that can affect value. The difference in value between GLA and basement square footage, there's obviously a difference because GLA is different than basement. I know I'm getting off on a tangent, but what was the original question again before I keep going?
Katie wants to know, what is considered basement square footage? Okay,
back to that again. So the quick answer, anything below grade. And that's what makes that. Now that's, once again, that's our guideline, but it's kind of gray. A lot of people want to nail certain things down on appraisers, but on the appraising side, there are some things that are gray area. It's not all black and white all the time. Some things are, but the basement is easy answer, anything below grade. So
all right.
Hopefully that helps out.
Katie would also like to know if a listing agent or seller, can a listing agent or seller decline an appraiser?
Decline up to, now let me clarify, meaning they know this individual or they've seen his work and they just don't want him to do the appraisal. Is that the question?
That's my guess.
Absolutely. Absolutely they can. I can show up to someone's house and they may not like the car I drive. And they can say, hey, I really don't think you're a good person to do a judgment call on my property. I think we should get somebody else. That's their call. And, and then I've never had it happen in 18 years. But absolutely. If a listing agent knows an appraiser and thinks that they've seen this individual's work and that he's not competent, or she can have any, or they can have any reason, but absolutely they can deny him. If they don't like it, say, I don't like this person, it'll probably come up later why. That's their prerogative to give an answer as to why. But absolutely, if they don't like somebody and think they're not the best person, say so, and they'll find somebody else. Trust me, there's too much money on the table for one little appraiser that somebody doesn't like to not have a deal go through. They would get another appraiser in there like that. Awesome. So that's why I try and be nice and happy when I show up to places, and I don't.
I'm going to stay on Katie for just a minute, and then I promise Amy will get to you. Katie just had an additional question more on that basement square footage.
Yes.
So a walkout lower level in a mountain community that is mostly above grade would probably be a GLA.
That comes into the gray area about where things can be different. And it does happen a lot in mountain communities. To give you an example, one that I seen up, and I'll get back, but there was a house, it was a 3-level home. And the middle level was still partially below the dirt because it was on a steep hill. And it was 3 stories high, basement definitely underground. Middle level, just part of it, the ground kind of came over. By my laws or appraisal laws, that's below grade. Does that mean it has 2 levels of basement? No. You're in the mountains, it's just how it is. The grade, you have to build it straight up versus a grade. It's just how it is. You change a little bit to what's common to the area. So on her question, no, that changes it. So that's what I was trying to say at the beginning. It's kind of a grayish area, and for the most part, gross living area is everything above grade, but it can change. I know that's not definitive, like yes or no on certain other questions, but it's what's common to the area.
Gotcha. Well, thank you, Katie. Amy has a question about VA appraisals. She says, what is a tidewater process? When tidewater is invoked, should both agents be notified? I recently had an appraiser use a 7-month-old comp on VA appraisal and not time adjust at all for market appreciation. How would you recommend we address this?
Before I get into it, VA is a special license. I'm a certified residential appraiser. I am not VA approved. Now, that doesn't mean I don't know what they do. It's just I'm not on the VA list. But back to, let's just say it's a standard time adjustment. In the market that we're in, something that's 3 to 4, it's personal choice or what the market demands. But when we're getting that old, it depends on if we're in an increasing market, and we are pretty much everywhere in the nation, there should be a time adjustment. It's easy to calculate. Usually on most appraisals, most AMCs now are requiring what's called the MC, the market conditions. And on that market conditions, it breaks down the past year into 3 different categories: 6 to 12 months ago, 4 to 6 months ago, and then 1 to 3 months ago. And what that market condition does, it shows a graph. Have we increased, decreased? And this shows for comps, comp prices, days on market, average list price. Everything is showing increase. And if you're at an increase for the past 12 months, there should be a time adjustment, especially for something 7 months old. A 7-month-old property doesn't, in my opinion, I want to be careful when I say things. This is my opinion. Something 7 months old does not reflect the market that we're in today. And so there should be a time adjustment. He can make a comment as to why he believes it's not, and there is reasons. You know, even though it's increasing, what if it's minimal increase, just a little bit? Well, he might believe that, well, it's not enough to make an adjustment. It's defendable, but for the most part, I would see a time adjustment be put in there.
I see. All right. Thank you, Amy. I also have a question from DJ. DJ wants to know, do you want the listing agent there when you go out to do an appraisal? Is it helpful if that listing agent comes with sales comps and recent sales for you to review?
For me, I appreciate them showing up. One, it just shows their vested interest. Out of everybody in the deal, they're making the most. So I appreciate seeing them there. 2, as an appraiser, my job is to investigate this subject, find out everything I can on this. And even though I've got my comps, I've got most of the information, I've got information from the city, I've got everything I think I need, I appreciate anybody showing up with additional information. Like I said, we're investigating, and when somebody shows up with more evidence, whether I've got it or not, I appreciate it. I like being handed a folder from a realtor that says, hey, here's some comps I found, use them or don't, but here's some ones I found that are in the neighborhood. I went out, you know, they usually go out a mile or 2. Sometimes I know they like to stick in a high one in there to see if it makes me flinch. I do my due diligence, and sometimes I don't flinch, but I greatly appreciate it. And, you know, one, I'm a social person, so I like seeing them. But, you know, I do know there's some realtors, there's some appraisers that are standoffish. They enjoy working by themselves. They like going to an empty house. They don't want to talk to a realtor. They don't want to see or hear you tell them how great this house is because of the new appliances. You're going to get that. They're out there. I personally talked to them. I don't know why they're still appraisers. But when I go, I appreciate them showing up because they can tell me that, you know, the hot water heater was replaced 4 years ago, something I may not see. The furnace was replaced a few years ago. These are things that I should find out and try and ask questions, but sometimes they cut to the chase and they tell me, oh, it was painted a couple years ago. You may not know that. It looks kind of dirty because of the dust storm, but it was. The paint's 2 years new. And so, yes, they can help me with little stuff. They're not going to make me go from 400,000 to 500,000. It just helps with the information. And, you know, they can say, and they'd also be there to say those words that, hey, we got 6 offers. You know, this one was the best because it was cash offer, but we had even higher offers. Just sit down, and, you know, you may only talk to them for 5 minutes and leave, but it's worth, for me, I enjoy the 5 minutes. So I think it's worth it.
Awesome. Thank you, DJ.